We are live. I am here with Kate Maypother, my very good friend and author of a book I'm so excited for you to get to read and hear about called Book of Grace. And I'm holding it up for people who are here live, but for people who are not here live, it's beautiful. You'll have to take my word for it until you can order one yourself. Kate and I met here on Substack, and she is now one of my best friends. I think we text pretty much every day, and uh, we audio message, I don't know, a couple times a week, maybe, if there's a reason.
I'm driving.
Yeah. But Kate's not like one for the phone. Kate doesn't like phone calls, and I don't really either. Um, I will FaceTime with my kids and like a few other people, but I'm not a big phone person. But Kate will do a podcast. So
Yeah, Kate will. I think I'm going to talk about myself in third person for the rest of
are
this.
you?
Like Bob Dylan.
Awesome, that's great. So I was lucky enough to read an advanced copy of Book of Grace. I actually read a couple different advanced copies.
Yes, you were actually bludgeoned with it.
No, I was not bludgeoned. I was very, very fortunate to get to read this book. And Kate is, if you haven't read Kate's work, she is just a stunning poet. And I am very picky with my poetry. I'm not somebody, I think some people just like love poetry. Um, and I'm just really, I mean, I love Mary Oliver. I think who doesn't love Mary Oliver, but I'm just picky. I'm not somebody that just and you're just one of those people that, yeah, it's like I read your stuff and it's breathtaking. And I don't say that lightly. It's not hyperbole. It's just really, or it's like a gut punch, or, it's just, so that is when I first started reading your work. It was the poetry, I think, at first. And then once in a while you would bust out with an essay and it'd be like, wow. And then you just like one day were like, oh, I'm writing a novel. And I was like, wait, what? And the prose, it's just, that's part of what makes this book so incredible, is the level of the beautiful sentences. So when you're somebody who really appreciates a good sentence, it's like this book is just, I almost didn't know what excerpt to ask you to read. It was crazy. I was like, I don't even know. So why don't you?
Thank you.
Yeah,
I appreciate all of that. Thank you very much.
it's just true.
Thank you.
Do you want to tell everybody like a little synopsis? I figured you're going to read the prologue, right?
Yeah, I am going to read the prologue. If you haven't read the book yet, it's, the cliff notes are basically, my friend Lexi called it the lesbian bridges of Madison County.
I think
But
that's very accurate.
with a
Yeah.
better end, I think.
Yeah.
It's a story of two women who meet and the timing is not there, and they go their separate ways and run into each other again, and there's still stuff there. And it's this, I think it's a very human story of the decisions that we have to make in our lives, the choices that women have to make in their lives, particularly. And part of the book is narrated from the afterlife. There are two Graces. They're both named Grace, both main characters. There's Grace McAllister and Grace Gray. And Grace McAllister narrates part of the book from the beyond. So it's sweeping. It covers, a lifetime. It's not War and Peace, so don't worry. It's not like 700 pages, but I'll read the prologue. Between rain and light. Let me tell you a memory. One drop of joy from the sea of our life. It's late summer. You and Lena are in the yard with a garden hose and a plastic kiddie pool. You're turning in a slow circle, your thumb over the hose end. Every time the water arcs toward the light, a rainbow embraces your body. From where I am, perched in the window of my office, I can't tell if you see its glowing mouth around you or not. Lena is 12. She's been living in her swimsuit since early June. It's pilled and snagged from climbing trees with Sammy and worn thin in the seat. When she smiles, the last day of August shimmer in her teeth like she swallowed the sun. She dances in and out of the colors, tries to catch them in her little fingers no longer than French fries. Her laugh is an Indian summer. I'm spilling through the glass panes, pouring myself into the smile on your lips, thinking, you are what happens to me between rain and light. I have 1,000,001 of these moments stacked up inside me. Memory never dies, so I have lifetimes of them. Some I've never told another soul. When I was alive, I used them as fuel to love you harder and harder with every day we were given. Sometimes pieces of them found their way into a poem or a book, but mostly I collected them, like beach glass, kept them in the bowl of my heart. But now it's winter, and I've been dead for months. Our kids are grown with babies and yards and kiddie pools of their own. Our long life together is heaped on the lawn of your heart, like a beloved bicycle someone forgot to put away in the fall. You're barefoot in the almost frozen grass, staring up at the night sky, looking for me in the stars. You're looking right at me, I say again and again, but there's not enough matter out here, not enough atoms or molecules to carry the sound waves. My voice bounces off Venus and shatters into light. I scoop a handful of that light and spread it across your sky, a spiral galaxy for you to follow when it's your turn to shed your earthly skin. I lay it on thick, like warm honey over inky blue darkness. I want to make sure it leads you straight back to me, again and again, just like it always has. Follow the light, I say, and throw another fistful of stars. Follow the light right back to me, love. From where I am now, I know I'm infinite. I've created worlds. In this last one, you were the blue-tipped match I dragged along the hunger of my skin. We ignited, and I touched that fire to the wick of my desire like an answered prayer. We went up in gorgeous flames. For years, we sparked off the bare metal of love like it was the 4th of July. This is the story of us. In the end, we'd be together for as many years as you'd been alive the night we met, 34. Neither one of us could ever fully describe or explain the presence between us that hovered like a sanctuary city on the border of our trespass into one another. I didn't understand it until I died, until the rose-colored glasses of death showed me the vastness of a heart. I miss you, Grace. No one tells you that the dead still long for their beloved. I'm surrounded by archangels and the most divine beings imaginable, and I miss you. So I'm doing what I know best, writing. Only now I use a Thunderbolt pen and sunrise ink. I write on horizon. Thanks, Rick. Hey. Sorry. I write on horizon lines and cirrus clouds and parchment skies. I write the best love letter to you I can. Sorry, hang on.
That's Riggs. That's Riggs. If you follow Kate, then you know about Riggs. I mean, I think you got it. I'm sitting here crying, Kate.
Yeah. So we give Riggs a lot of slack because he does have cancer and he's I let him do whatever he wants basically. So okay, so I'll just finish. It's just the last couple paragraphs. So I'm doing what I know best, writing. Only now I use a Thunderbolt pen and sunrise ink. I write on horizon lines and cirrus clouds and parchment skies. I write the best love letter to you I can. Emily Dickinson said to tell all the truth, but tell it slant. And I want to. I want to tell the truth of one extraordinary lifetime of many spent with you, the intrepid and beautiful Grace Catherine Gray, from the Afterlife Slant. As far as I know, no dead woman has ever written a love letter to their still living wife. But in fairness, as far as I know, and I know so much further now, no one has ever loved you the way I did, the way I do, the way I always will. Most people, when they die and get to this place, they never want to leave. But I am not most people. I am a dead star, handing you eons of my still burning light. Our love story is worth coming back from the dead to tell. This is what I'm leaving of myself and you, babe. It may be all I ever get to say about love. The barking is not in the book, just so you know.
I mean, who doesn't want somebody to write that love letter to them? Um, yeah. I think I think part of what moved me so much, first of all, it is really a sweeping, gorgeous, timeless love story. And it opens up a genuine conversation about, what does it really mean to love someone? I think a lot of people say, I love you. And they mean, like, I love you if I can possess you, you know?
Mhm,
Um, like, I love you when you do what I want you to do, or when you are who I want you to be.
mhm.
It's conditional. It's like, and
Yeah,
then
it's personal, and I think that there's this, there's this sort of false correlation between love and time.
Mhm.
Some of the greatest loves in my life didn't last.
Yeah.
And I think, 2020 and 2021 were really pivotal years for me in terms of learning the way grief sort of scatters seeds. And I lost people to death. I lost people in 2020. I lost a 45-day-old niece. And, you know, my love was not diminished by the short period of time that we got to have her.
Yeah.
And so, I think that's what kind of was the beginning of this book was, g starting to feel okay about the fact that I love deeply and whether that's forever in person or not.
Yeah.
Uh,
I think that's also partly why it had such a, like a profound effect on me is I mean, this, but I've lost so many people since 2021. And my mom at the end of 2021, and then, I mean, just in like rapid succession, just my half sister 6 months later, and then my dad in 2023. And it's just, that's kind of like, I felt like a portal opened kind of when I lost my mom, and it just really hasn't closed. But my mother by far was just the most just I don't even, yeah, I mean, I don't have to explain it to you, obviously, but or to anybody who's been through a loss like that. Um, but it really knocked me sideways.
mhm,
And I have never experienced anything like that. And I continue to, um, I mean, I could start crying right now, and it's been 5 years. And that is how close to the surface it is for me at all times.
mhm,
Um, and I had no understanding of that kind of grief. I don't think it's not that I haven't lost people. I have. I just had not experienced this before. And but also what you're saying, which is that, the relationship doesn't end.
right,
The person is no longer here in their physical form. You can't, I can't pick up the phone and call my mother. And that is hard. And I can't get on a plane and go and see her. Um, I can't hug her, those things are hard, but our relationship is not over, and
Yeah.
I realized
Mhm.
that it would
Yeah.
continue to
I
evolve.
think, the conversation for me, the conversation continues.
Yeah,
You know, obviously there's pieces of real life experience in this book, but it's more a culmination of little things and little goodbyes and little letting goes and realizing that, I'm an Enneagram 4 and I'm a Scorpio, and, I love hard and deeply, and, I've learned to not feel ashamed of that,
yeah,
regardless of the length of time, you know, that
yeah.
I knew someone or was with someone or whatever. So, here we go.
The Altman was saying that when you record the audio, you need to bring rigs with you.
I
Yeah.
will, Alyssa. I'll bring
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
a great idea.
yeah, yes, and, yeah, I think a lot of people in the chat are saying their dog started responding to rigs, so
Yeah, I got
you've
you.
got the dogs now, the dogs are talking, so,
That's
um,
great.
yeah.
Before I forget, Alyssa, there is a dog in this book, and his name is Petey, and I named him after your Pete. So,
Oh,
just FYI.
yes. Oh, that's so sweet. I mean, that's, we there's, like that's the other thing too is at the end of it's like, this also, but at the end of all of that, like, my mom and my dad, then our dog, and
Yeah.
you know, Kate was so, I mean, you and Lauren Huff actually got me through that some crazy way. It was just brutal. So, I think it's like this experience of it's just when we love, that loss is it's baked in because
Mhm.
human beings don't last forever. Nothing that we love is gonna last forever. Um, Somebody's going, you know what I mean, eventually, and that's the part that I think when you've been through it, and it's hard to talk about that, and it's hard to face that, I think, and I think for some people, that vulnerability is a thing that they push out of their minds. It's like a thorn in the it's just like a thorn in the mind, it's there, but they don't wanna think about it because it is painful to confront that we have no control. We don't get to know, like, how long we have, how long anyone else has, what happens after this. Like, we don't get to know these things. And so love really is this huge act of courage. Um, but I mean, what else is
What
there?
is it? Oh, too yeah, what else is there, and what does it mean to love what doesn't stay? I think there's merit in it, and there's value in it, and there's, you know yeah, it's hard and it hurts, for whatever reason that it doesn't stay, but it's still love, and it's still valid, and,
Yeah,
uh, yeah, I think I wanted to write a book that was really earnest about love. I wanted people who were reaching for love even when they were hurt and, even when they didn't get chosen, and I wanted people to make hard decisions based in love, and, there's no villain in this story, and, I worried about that for about half a second, and then I was like, "You know what? We got enough fucking villains right now. We don't really need another one in this story." I just kinda wanted it to be very, um, if we could close our eyes and imagine a perfect scenario, what would it look like?
yeah.
I mean, sometimes the choices aren't black and white. Sometimes there's just all this love and you still have to make a choice, and
I think
yeah,
there are gonna be a lot of, women who read this book who are in, you know, um like heteronormative marriages and have children who are gonna really relate deeply, um, because and I don't wanna get off on, like, too much of it, but just that whole idea of, having a hard time choosing yourself.
Well,
And, when you're not always the only person in the boat when you're
right.
making decisions. Sometimes there are other people in the boat with you, and it can be really confusing, and painful to figure out, what is the right decision and what is the right am I allowed to, how do I do this? How do I and I think it's hard enough sometimes for people to, even if they're in a relationship and they don't feel, it's for whatever reason they're not feeling seen, or they're not it's not thriving, they're not feeling, it's not, it's just not feeling right, but it's not horrible.
Mhm.
There's this sense of like, well, I can't end it. Like, this is a nice person, and like nothing's really wrong. So I can't end it just because I'm not happy, right? I need to work harder, or like figure it
Oh,
out.
can't base things on my happiness, God forbid.
Right. Like, that's not a legitimate reason, and I'm not, this is not me saying, I think that there's also a side of things where people just, are end things too quickly. So, this isn't me saying, I'm just saying that I think that there's a conversation here for women in particular where we are so, um trained from a very early age to put everybody else's needs first. That's the
Mhm.
conversation that I think is really useful to at least have and investigate,
Well, and I think it takes often a really big chunk of a woman's life to even get to where she wants to ask herself, "What is it that I really want?"
yeah,
Especially that, if a woman decides to have children and decides to go be a mother, and then you're peeling that back, and what does that mean? And, what are my responsibilities here? And, by the time it seems to me that, women get in early 40s seems to be the sweet spot, and they're like, "Wait, I could have made other choices? Like,
right,
really?
right.
I had no idea." Right? And
Yeah.
it's not that it goes badly even, maybe they have a great family or great whatever, but maybe it's not everything that they
Or
want.
what about the whole sort of like two things? My brain is like firing in, a million different directions right now. But um I think one thing that you're is a theme running through the book too, or at least a theme running through my mind as I was reading the book, is that, I think there's often this feeling for people that if a relationship doesn't work out, then it was a failure. And it's like, I don't feel that way. I don't think you do either. It's like, even if you end up heartbroken, you learned something, like
Mhm,
something happened, and you would not be the person you are now. Sometimes people, I mean, I went through, I got married and I had 2 little kids, and I ended up getting divorced when my daughter was 18 months old and my son was 4. And I wanna wait, Katrina is gonna join us. So, I don't wanna get off on a tangent here. Katrina Ann Willis is gonna join us in a little while. But, and her book, Hurricane Lessons, is very much like we should wait for her to have this fuller conversation. But, um, you know, I remember at the time just so many people, like, that is not a choice I would have made if there was any other choice to make.
mhm.
But, um, when I look back on it, it was such a gift for all 4 of us. It was absolutely the correct decision. And if I could go back in time, I wouldn't change anything because I would never not wanna have the exact 2 children I have. And
Right.
if you start pulling one thread in your life, then you're gonna unravel everything, right?
Yeah,
Like, I don't
and
know.
I think that's one of the other things I really wanted to explore in this book with these characters was, you know, um, the love that doesn't quote unquote last. Say the marriage quote unquote fails. Um, what about that love? And do we have to polarize, and do we have to create a bad guy and a good guy, and you know blame each other and that kind of thing? And What if what if we just made loving each other the best we could the thing? And
Well,
I
that's
that's
the thing for everybody in those situations. There's no doubt if you can do it. It's not all, listen, not everybody's up to it,
listen, not everybody is.
unfortunately,
I
but
realize that, the 2 characters in this book, you know, Grace Gray and her husband Liam, it's a very idealistic picture of what could happen if you kept loving that person.
yeah.
Um, and
Paul Crenshaw has joined the chat and he said this is the best poem on failed marriages. And so it's called Failing and Flying
mm,
for anybody who maybe doesn't see the chat later but can hear this. So I'm sure that we can check that out later. And I'll put that in the post underneath our
I
talk. I'm
feel
sure it's
I love
fabulous.
him.
But there's a lot of people that do relate to the whole, just this I think this sense that we all have that if a marriage fails or a relationship fails, that it's a failure, and I really reject that. I don't consider my, marriage to my first husband with my kid, that's not a failure. 2 amazing human beings came out of that.
Right.
It was one of, you know, the 2 biggest heartbreaks of my life. That's also true.
Mm,
It's deeply, deeply hurt, but it was not a failure. And, um, yeah, and their dad now, 20 years later, is more like a brother almost, as crazy as that sounds. He's like a, member of the family, like somebody I really want to be happy.
yeah.
Um, and it's like, it doesn't and it took a long time. It was not easy. Listen, there were some really painful things along the way. And it's not always easy for people to, be their best selves. I'm not trying to paint some, I think, and I want to be clear about that because there are probably people that are going to listen to this who go through incredibly painful divorces that are ugly. Listen, I know, okay? I know. I've been through some things, but you can get there if you keep really trying to think about like what is the best scenario here for everyone involved and continue to try to put everybody's highest good at the forefront over and over again. And it does mean like just forgiving things like, okay, and it doesn't mean being a doormat. I'm not saying that, but just like to really continue to try to draw a heart around everything as best you can,
Mhm.
That's how what
Well,
I
it's pretty malleable. I mean, romantic love might not work, but another love might.
yeah.
I'm definitely not saying that I'm so virtuous that I could do all this. I'm not saying that at all. I just think that, you know, when we imagine the way things can be, we create something,
Yeah.
right? We create an ideal, we create something that it becomes tangible at some point. And I don't know, I thought it was a conversation worth having.
It's
Just
not only just like a conversation worth having. I think that you're right. Like in order to like bring something into being, you kind of have to create the neural pathways. You have to see it.
Mhm.
And I think that like that's what you did. You created something that it's a vision, right? It's so beautiful. And everyone in this book does rise, you know, to that level, does um show up with grace eventually and does offer grace to everybody around them. And I just got goosebumps, but you really did this beautiful job of showing what that can look like. And that's what art does, right? Like you put this out into the world and maybe somebody reads that who's going through something right now. Who knows what that ends up doing? What kind of freedom you might offer someone.
Well, yeah, and I mean, if I'm being completely honest, there's been a lot of situations in my life, and I'm sure we can all relate, that didn't go my way,
Yeah.
you know? And so the fun part about writing a novel is I get to write it going whatever way I want it to go, right? I mean, I get to create a different ending, not just for myself, but for anyone who reads it.
Yeah.
So, I had no idea what I was doing, and I'd never written a novel before. I'm a poet, but It was fun. I think I might be a novelist now, writing poetry on the side. I don't know. We'll
I
see.
think you might be because I don't wanna whatever. Is it okay for me to let the cat out of the
Yeah, I'm working on another book.
I know. She's just the other day, she just sent me a text, she's like, "Hey, when you have a second, um, can you just read this?" And I was like, "Oh, are you serious?" I, like, looked, I was like, "She did it again." I read, yeah, no, yeah, she did it again, she's doing it again. Um, I am just looking at I wanna make sure I know I was gonna ask you, do you believe in soulmates?
I do. But I don't believe in just one.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you believe in, like, a certain number? Like, do you think it's like a preordained, like, you have a certain number of soulmates in this lifetime and you're gonna like, do you believe in reincarnation or, like, souls traveling together
Mhm.
again and again? Now
I
I'm
do
really busting out with a conversation here.
Yeah, I mean, I do believe, I think my personal beliefs align pretty closely with this book in terms
Mhm.
of I do think that there are people who have spent time together before this plane. I do think that we have a recognition of those people sometimes if we're super lucky. I know, I have that with my dog, you know. I mean, he's my
Yeah,
s I know I've we've been together sometime before, it's just he's that one connection.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
yeah, I do, and I do think that there are I want to anyway, think that there are more lifetimes with the
yeah,
people that with the spirits and essence of people that we really love.
yeah. I mean, I feel I hope that that's how it works, you know? I hope that's how it works. Like, I'm somebody I guess I think it's my personality that it's like, obviously, we don't get to know for sure.
Mhm, mhm,
That's how it's like I don't know, and I don't think we get to know until we exhale for the final time, but but, just just in every different, um modality that it's like energy doesn't die, it changes form, just every and even on an intuitive level where you meet people and you're like, "God," there's just like sometimes you meet someone and it does feel like somebody that you've known before or
mhm,
there are and then sometimes you you meet a person and you're like this person feels like this is their first round here on planet Earth, like they're a fresh soul, like those people where you're like, "Hmm, they're new here,"
you're right.
so I and then there are people like that you feel like this person has so much wisdom.
Mhm,
And I'm not talking about that thing that we do to little girls. That's a whole other thing because I've written about that. I think there's a whole thing that happens where little girls where you're like you get that label of like, "Oh, she's an old soul," but that's a
mhm,
separate
yeah,
creepy thing that men do to little girls to
yeah,
justify
yeah,
treating them like adults. So I'm not talking about that. I'm legitimately sometimes you meet like a small child and they come out with the most profound, you know, um so yeah, for me I also I would love for it to work that way. I would love for us to get more than one opportunity to get things right. And I would love to feel like we are going to see each other again, that we're going to travel together again. I'm going to start crying. You know, um yeah,
it's
especially
comforting.
also just go ahead.
Yeah, it's a comforting thought.
Yeah.
If it's wrong, so what? It's comforting thought, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Um,
And
yeah,
especially given the state of the world right now too. It's like, it'd be nice to feel like we're gonna have some more time because it's not easy right now. I saw both or his memory. Yeah, I saw Paul and Alyssa were saying Jack Gilbert. So I'm assuming that's the name of the poet who wrote that poem. So
yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Oh, thank you, Charlie. I love you too. I am, one of the things that I think has happened, and maybe you relate to this too, Kate. I feel like the loss and the grief and all of that, um, I I am this is it has changed me, and I am very, um, sensitive in this way. I do feel things, like, I do cry really easily now, and not that I didn't before, but it's really, um but I've always, like, I don't know, I don't mind, it's okay, I'd rather be feeling things than not,
Well, yeah.
right?
No, I think it's a beautiful part of who you are, and, we're certainly being given a plenty to cry about right now,
Yeah,
so,
it's
it's
brutal,
understand yeah, it's
but
understandable.
I'd rather love hard. I'd rather
Yeah,
love hard and and feel that grief then too, than, like, kind of love halfway or be fearful or not say things if I feel them, like, I'd rather go for it, and
yeah, or be void of empathy.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, I would too, and I know that it usually opens me up to more pain sometimes, but that's fine with me. I don't have
It's
a
one of
problem.
my closest childhood friends that's here, Wendy Doucette, and she said, "It's the 13-year anniversary of my great uncle's passing today. It gives her great comfort to know that they will connect again and the tremendous love remains." Yeah, and it's true. It's like you love hard and you grieve hard. It's like it's part
Yeah,
of um it's kind of just part of the equation. I wrote down a bunch of I so okay, we already talked about whether you believe in something after this. So, and there is this idea, I think, if you are believing in reincarnation, that eventually, like in the yogic philosophy, there's the idea that you're gonna come back however many times you need. There's this karmic inheritance, right? And so every time you show up, whatever you didn't, your soul, whatever lesson you didn't get in the previous lifetime, you're going to get in this one. And then eventually you're going to get to a place where you reach enlightenment. You don't need to come back in a human body again. You've done it. Now you're going to be like part of the stars and, like guiding sort of like positive force, which if that's true, like, please, like,
yeah,
harder. Like,
yeah,
just like bring it, send it down harder. But you know, so we talked about that. Do you want to talk about do you want to talk about the sex scene, or should we wait till Katrina's here for that?
Oh god, yeah, let's wait for Katrina for that.
And, my because hello, wow, okay, we're gonna definitely talk about that. And then what about, parasocial relationships? You wanna talk about that for a moment?
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think
Does
there was a
everybody am I just assuming everyone knows parasocial relationships, like, people that we meet online, especially if you are following a writer or something, you're reading, like, everything this person writes, or you're following a celebrity, or you're like, people that you're meeting in this way, and you start to feel like you know them. And then maybe, then you see them in life and you think, well, I know them because, like, I know everything about them. And then they're like, "Ugh, I don't, who are you? I don't know you." Um, but then also, like, there is then sometimes you actually are interacting with someone, like, or, you do connect with somebody online and you are genuinely like messaging. So there's this like interesting, yeah, that.
and it's a weird boundary, I think. It's for me, it's just kind of totally based on vibes. I'm not, I'm a pretty private person. I don't have a lot of friends here immediately around me. I don't go out often. I'm pretty solitary.
Yeah.
Um, Spend time with my family, but there are times, even within my family that there's this assumed familiarity that was not earned, right?
Right.
It wasn't earned from time spent or
Maybe
you
I
know
should mention that I'm bringing this up because the 2 Grace's in the book meet online. That's why in case people are like, why are they talking about that? That's weird. Um,
Yeah.
they meet online and, one of them is a writer and one of them is,
Yeah. Yeah.
so that they connect that way. And I think that a lot of people do connect that way these days because that's often how we're meeting people,
Mhm.
there's less, it would seem, opportunity for people to be meeting however we met before we had these rectangular devices glowing in our hands, right? So, um, and I think that sometimes it's genuine connection
Yeah.
that happens.
Yeah, and I think sometimes it feels very organic, and there's other times when it feels very forced and intrusive,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so it's a personal thing. I mean, um, I've had, a lot I mean, I met you online.
Yes.
Y
Yes.
there's
Oh, I'm seeing like yeah, no, I know. Yes, it's exactly true. Like sometimes you meet online and Alyssa was saying like she and Susan met online. Like it's you absolutely meet and sometimes you meet you make you have friendships that just develop and they're genuine and um Arlene was saying what is the thing about loving hard? I think for me, it's not so much about loving. It's just that if I for me, Arlene, to answer Arlene's question, like because I think sometimes people are like, what is this like emphasis on that or whatever. But for me, what I mean when I say that is like if I'm if I'm loving someone, then I go all in. That's all I mean. It's just like I and I don't do it easily. I don't do
Yeah,
it left, right. It's like I'm very um I think because I as my and this is also like maybe interesting too is complicated grief,
yeah, yeah,
it's like with my mom, for example, at a really people sometimes that maybe read one essay or something, make a lot of assumptions. Oh, they must have had like the most, beautiful relationship or whatever. I had a really painful relationship with my mom. It was really heartbreaking most of my life. Like I loved her to pieces and she was an alcoholic and it was really painful. And as a kid, suffered a lot, and thought she didn't love me. Like it was not easy. But the last 3 weeks of her life, when she could not speak anymore, that's really when we started communicating and we did a lifetime of healing in 3 weeks, which I'm so grateful. Um,
your last essay and that the one line you wrote about that was so powerful to me.
I yeah, I don't know what I said, but um,
You
but
had
it's
that
just
you had the mom you wanted for 3 weeks. Um,
yeah,
I had a very difficult relationship with my dad, and
yeah,
so I understand that ambiguous grief. I remember at his funeral, I could not stop crying, and
yeah.
it was mostly because I was relieved in a very, Catholic guilt-ridden way, but I was so relieved to not have that black cloud hanging over me anymore. He was just so hard. He was so hard to love, he was so hard to be around. Um, Towards the end of his life, he tried, there are some similarities there, but it's just that kind of complicated parental love especially is just it's a real oof.
It's really hard. I think like I'm writing a whole memoir about it with her because we were like so intertwined and there was a tremendous amount of love there on both sides. It's just her love was very dangerous.
Yeah,
It was not, she was you had it was not um it was not safe. It was not a
yeah,
safe space around her. And um so Arlene, to answer, I think for me, it's like I'm not someone who's just quick to, I'm not quick for close friendship. I'm not quick with that stuff. And the people who are in my life, like Wendy, for example, I've known since I'm 13 years old, I hold on tight.
Mhm.
That's what I mean. Like, if you are in my life, like, I really, the people who are in my life mean everything to me.
Yeah.
So I try to make sure they know that, like,
Mhm.
every day. That's what I mean by like loving hard and like loving all the way and loving big. And the people who are, if they come into my life later, whatever, like I really try to, I don't ever want to, um, I don't ever want anybody to be, if something happened, and I hate to say it, but just, I think I live with this awareness of the fragility of life,
Mhm. Mhm.
and that anything could happen on any day, which I hate to say, but it's just the truth. And I guess the one thing that gives me some kind of peace is that at least if something were to happen today, I would just want to know in my heart that nobody um I love would have any doubt about that.
Right. Yeah.
And if I know that, then it was a good day.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I think that that's part of, why I think you and I became such good friends because there's just an unapologetic, unabashed, caring and generosity about you that's just really welcoming and really wonderful. It's not a thing that you not a thing you come across all the time. Um, and, I just scratch my head and wonder how you do it. But yeah, I think it's a beautiful thing to
No.
live with your heart that wide open. It's not easy. I understand that too.
Well,
I just have to say I can't see the chat very well, so I'm really not meaning to ignore anyone if you're
oh, I
talking.
don't think you are. I think we're good. Paul saying Jen and I went to high school together, but they reconnected online after not talking for 25 years. It's just, oh, and yep, let's see, Michelle saying that she and her husband met in person, but then he went back to Europe and nearly all of their courtship was online. So
Hi.
it's like, it's just how it is. I think should we bring Katrina
Yes, I would love
on?
to.
All
No,
right,
I this
Katrina,
is so excited to have her join us because first of all, we have kind of I feel like we have these 2 gay books in
let
the
me
world.
just talk here. This is Katrina's book called Hurricane Lessons, which also, as you can see, I was lucky enough. This is one of the perks of being on Substack is, I mean, perks, but also like, could I finish my memoir? I don't know. I keep reading everybody's arcs and then I'm like, we'll see. Okay, so invite guests. Now this is my first threesome, everybody. So this should be good. Here we go. Katrina, I am inviting you on now. So, or there's going to be three of us soon. We'll see how this goes. So, yeah. So, Katrina wrote Hurricane Lessons, and I think your book came out right as I was packing up my mom's apartment. I'm pretty sure, Katrina. Katrina's
Yes.
here! Yay!
Hi, Shannon.
Hi!
How are you?
This is so fun.
I feel I feel very close to the camera.
It's going to
I
be
thought
like
you waited for all the sex talk until I got online.
Oh, yeah.
we were
When
waiting for
Kelly
you.
texted me and said, "Do you wanna read some part of your book?" The first thing I said to her in all caps was, "I am not reading the sex chapter, Allie. I'm not."
Yeah. I've got to say that, like, okay, we are going to have to talk about the sex scene, Kate. Like, we are going to have to talk about that because, I mean, I just need everyone to understand that you should not read it in public. Um, and
Not the tea.
you like, I don't know, don't read it in public. And I maybe just like read it at the end of the day. Don't read it at lunch. Like if you have work to do later, like just wait till the end of the day. Um,
Don't build
yeah.
it up too much. I mean, listen, I had to throw a sex scene,
Okay.
first of all, because, I mean, it's a book and it's a novel and,
No, it needed to be in there.
women have sex together with each other. So,
Yeah. I'm just saying. I'm just
yeah.
warning people.
Well,
Okay.
you read one I didn't put in too, so
Oh my
yeah.
goodness. Yeah. I'm just saying
So,
women know how to write a sex scene for women, just in case anyone's wondering. Okay. Just needed to be said.
I took a class.
Yeah.
Well,
Just in
I'm
case
really
anyone was
excited
wondering.
about you being here, Katrina, because, um, your memoir, I was looking at it again today and just
Should we
I what, you wanna tee it up? Sorry, I just wanna launch into my
No, 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 no. I don't you can launch in. I just was gonna say I wanna make sure everybody knows, like, a little bit about Katrina about the book, just anybody who
okay,
hasn't, and so I don't know if Katrina I want Katrina to read an excerpt too. So do
yes.
you wanna, like, tell everybody, give them a little synopsis or tell them about your story and then maybe read the excerpt, and then we can, because it so fits in to this conversation that we're having, and then I can
Yep,
drop the link to your book
yeah.
in too, so then we're
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah, no. So Hurricane Lessons, is the story of me being with my former husband for 32 years. We met in high school, had 4 beautiful children, had a white picket fence life, and I very unexpectedly fell in love with my Pilates instructor, who was female. And it's the story of, hence the hurricane that came into our lives, and the story of how we navigated that and eventually divorced. And I found my way in a new identity. Not a new identity, it's an identity I always had, but didn't quite recognize until I was 46. Um, so that's kind of the premise of Hurricane Lessons, and I'm happy to read a little bit.
Please.
Um, this is when my former husband and I were talking about Cecilia, who was my Pilates instructor. Um, and that's it. What do you feel about Cecilia? Charles asked. What do you want from her? I didn't know how to answer him then, how to help him understand. I only knew how much I desired Cecilia's company, her presence, her touch. I was enamored with her, trapped within the aura of her, couldn't get enough. She created a want within me that I could barely contain. How did I convey to him that I wanted her to read me like a beloved book, pages dog eared and soft with use? I wanted her to know my story, the unspoken nuances. I wanted her to ponder them as she lay in bed at night, golden hair fanned out beneath her head, long legs tangled within the sheets. I wanted coffee stains on my cover in the morning and an earthy wine wiped from the paragraph she couldn't stop reading by the evening fire. I wanted her to return again and again to her favorite passages, ingesting them, memorizing them, until she could no longer recall whether they were pieces of her or pieces of me. I wanted her to run her finger along the spine of me, softly, lovingly, outlining my title with her slender finger until she knew the feel of it by heart. I wanted her to fall asleep with my pages open on her chest, so I could feel the rise and fall of her every breath, to softly ride the life within her. My desire for her consumed me, and I did not look back to see what I might be leaving in my wake. The churning waters, the unsettled seas, the waves lapping at every foundation. The beautiful blue horizon loomed before me, and I could focus only on that, on the possibility, on the dream. I could only see the sunshine while the storm clouds formed at my back.
Man.
I just got Invisalign, so I feel like I'm spitting everywhere, so
Oh,
I
you're
apologize.
not sitting anywhere. You look great. How old were the kids? I can't remember.
The kids,
Yeah.
they were all born within 5 years of each other, so my oldest was in college and the youngest was in high school. 3 were in high school
Okay.
together.
At the
Yeah,
time. Yeah. That's what I thought.
yeah.
We were talking earlier about, how much a woman has to go through in a life to just get to the inner parts of herself to figure it all out.
Did you see Alyssa wrote God bless Pilates here? Alyssa, if we could get 4 people on this thing. I just oh boy.
Body's changed everything.
yeah, I just, I read your book and my heart broke. I mean, that scene where your ex-husband commits you, it's just
Oh,
like, you gotta be kidding me. I mean, I
yeah.
just feel like your willingness to tell the truth about all of that just fills me with the deepest respect and awe for you, because I really believe that those words in this book, in the right hands, it's just gonna change people's lives. I mean, in order to know that what you're feeling is not some crazy, terrible thing, you read it from somebody else's perspective and you're like, "Yes, I'm not broken. There's nothing wrong with me. I get to make these decisions and I get to have what I want." And I don't know, it's just a beautiful book. And your ability to really tell it is just stunning. It's
Thank
just
you. I can't go on enough about your book. I can't. And I'm not doing this like, tit for tat. Kate's book and Kate's writing to me is otherworldly. So if
They're very different. Like, I mean, they're completely different. They're
uh,
completely different books. There's like, you've got the novel on my left. I don't know how it is for everybody out there, but like, it's this like like I said, sweeping epic romance, ethereal, whatever. And then this memoir, but they're very connected stories, they're very connected stories. And that's why I kind of wanted to stop myself earlier, Katrina, when I started to talk about like how hard it can be for women to choose themselves. Um, and I remember very much like when my kids were tiny and I was going through this experience of just realizing like, I don't know what, because for me, growing up the way that I did, my parents had a very acrimonious divorce, and that's the last thing I wanted. That was the last thing that I wanted for my children. And I had done everything possible to avoid that. Um, and I just, this really broke my heart to come to the realization like there's no way around this. Like there's no other option here. But leading up to that, the and for their sake is what it ended up being. It wasn't even for my sake in the end. It was like it became wildly apparent to me that if I didn't do that, it was going to be not okay for them. Um,
I think that's the point I had to get to too, right?
yeah,
Like, who wants to have a mother who isn't herself and who doesn't really want to be in this relationship anymore? And I wanted to model for them that if you find yourself in a situation that's not right for you anymore, you can make a different choice. And divorce is hard, obviously on all kids. I remember my daughter saying, "I never wanted to be one of those families."
I
So
remember
the
that.
divorce was far harder for them, yeah, than the coming out or anything else. It was the
Yeah,
divorce that really affected them.
and it
Katrina, how long did it
does.
take you to write that memoir?
What was
I'm sorry.
that?
How long did it take you to write your memoir?
Um, I worked on it for 10 years. So I kept journals as I was going through, as we were going through counseling and the divorce and all of the things. And it started out as a memoir in essays and then eventually became a narrative. So it just went through lots of different iterations over 10 years.
Yeah.
That moment too where he did commit you. I mean, that is like a thing that I think I thought like that's like something that used to happen back in the day, like a husband would have his wife committed. Um, I was I almost didn't know what to do with myself when I got to that scene. I was like, "Okay, I think I need to, like, go walk around the block right now because I'm beside myself." And, I understand, like, one of the things well, I think that obviously you got through it and you've you are where you are. You're out the other side of this, and you were able to hold on to what, to your who you are and your heart and what you needed to do to um make a decision that made sense to free yourself, but also your family, I think, and to show that to your children, and I know because we've talked about this and I've seen your more current writing as well. So I know that, like, your children, you're doing great, right? But I think it's like there's also the other reality for women that when you are in a marriage for a long time, and let's say you are making certain sacrifices, and I was just watching this incredible interview with a lot of women who stayed home with the kids. Like, they decided, okay, I'm going to stay home with the kids because for a lot of reasons, there's a gender pay gap. And my husband, there was a woman who was talking about, like, she and her husband met in grad school, and they came out and they met at work, and they were both being paid like a pretty equal salary, pretty equal. He was being paid a little bit more because there is a gender pay gap, but they were on pretty much a similar track. And then after a few years, she got pregnant, and she ended up being on maternity leave, and all these different things along the way. And eventually it became clear, like, okay, I'm going to stay home with the kids for a few years. She could never catch up. Her social security payments were never, like, her 401k, she could never catch up. And then eventually he left. And there were all these women telling these stories about how no matter what happened, they were the ones who were, like, doing the labor of child rearing, and it's not equitable. No matter what happens, like, and then if something goes wrong in the marriage, the husband leaves and he is financially whole and she is not, a lot of the time. And there's just a lot of, like, systemic things happening still in our society that make it a lot harder for a woman to choose herself. It's not just the emotional part of it. There's also the whole financial part of it too, that we don't talk about a lot because it's uncomfortable and it hurts. But I think that's part of it too. That really needs to be part of the conversation. It's not just the that training that we have from, like, the beginning of, like, you got to worry about everybody else's needs first. It's also, like, the systemic part of what makes it really hard for a lot of women, I think, too.
It was absolutely the worst financial decision I ever made, getting divorced, and the best personal decision that I
Yeah.
ever made.
Mm.
And so that's worth it to me. But it's true too. And when you're in a marriage for as long as I was, and that's all you've ever known, we started dating when I was a teenager. You don't even know what's wrong with the marriage, right? Like, you don't even recognize, it's like you're a frog boiling in a pot of water, right? You don't even realize all the things that weren't okay until you're able to get out of it and look back and say, whew,
Yeah.
glad I made that decision. Yeah.
I think that that's the other thing too, is that sometimes, like, at the end of this, this thing that I was just like, women get asked this question, "Well, was it worth it?" It's like, that's not even the question. Of course it's worth it. It's like your freedom is always worth it, right? Living true in a way that's true to your heart is always worth it. That's not even having children. I mean, obviously, like, for me, my children are, like, the most by far of all the things I've done in my life. It's just like there's no comparison. They're the best things by far that I've ever done. It's not even an issue. It's like that's not the right question. The right question is what's going on that we're in this situation, in the first place, that it's so difficult for women to choose themselves.
Thing that
Why do
comes
we
up,
have that? Yeah.
having not had children or any, I haven't been divorced or had children, but I think about my creative friends like both of you and how much creativity has been lost to having to have this battle within yourself, this battle within a society that doesn't want you to have what you wanna have, or doesn't want you to be equal, or doesn't want to pay you as much, or just wants you to continue to provide free labor or whatever. I just constantly think about how much of women's creativity just gets sucked into that black hole, and it enrages me, you
Yeah.
know? It enrages me.
I think it's also just, like, if you think about all the men, like, the male writers,
Mm. Yeah.
and they all had wives.
Yeah.
They had kids and they had wives, and that's how they were, like, getting all this writing done all day long because somebody else was doing, like, all the other stuff, so, yeah, it's
It equally enrages me to Kate to think about how our current country treats women who don't get married to men and don't have children, right? And that your worth is measured by the children that you have because
We're under babied.
yep, childless cat
yeah,
ladies or dog that's
underbated.
yep, yep,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm happily a dog mom. Wasn't for me, but
yeah,
I don't know, I just, there's just that whole element of how hard we have to fight sometimes just to be who we are. This is kinda what my next book is about. It's like, I think a lot of women, spend their entire lives in these really intricate, intimate relationships with spouses and children, and they get to the end of their life and they don't feel known.
yeah,
Y I don't know how many women have said that to me.
yeah.
And
That's devastating. Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
it is.
yeah,
There's
and a shame, I think that's just a shame.
there's
Uh, right is
later in life lesbians. Have you been this is like a thing now.
what's that?
Late in life lesbians. It's like
Oh,
it's like women who like the estrogen drops. They're not taking care of everybody anymore. They're just like they're sick of all the mental load of like all of it. And they're like they're starting to figure out like who am I? What do I want? What makes me happy? And
yeah,
they're changing everything, It's like
yeah,
sometimes the whole like, everything changes, like, not just well, like, Katrina, like, they're leaving, like, a long time marriage. And I don't think it's a coincidence. I think a lot of women, like, reach that age where perimenopause happens, the kids go to college, and it's kind of like, "Oh, okay, so I'm not I've got, like, this empty nest situation going on, and I don't really know this person anymore. I haven't felt seen in this marriage for decades.
I don't
I
even know.
don't yeah, or ever maybe, right? And it's like, uh, what do I want my life to be or what I have more time now because I'm not being relied upon in that same way where my kids are needing me the way that they did. So like, what do I want my life to look like in a way that they haven't had any time to even ask themselves that question.
Mhm.
Um,
It wasn't until I was able to come up for air a little bit when my kids didn't need me so much physically, right? When their needs were more emotional and mental bef before it was the first time I could think about that, right? Like, "Oh, I could leave this marriage. I could take my kids with me and I could leave and we'd be okay, and what a life we would have on the other side of this." I'd never thought about that before. You're just so in survival mode, right? Keeping everybody fed and bathed and dressed and,
Right.
um yeah, I think we reach that point where you take a breath and say, "Is this really what I want?" And then, you're midway through your life and you think, "What's left?" I'm gonna
Yeah,
make the most of that.
the
Yeah.
the right kind of hard,
Mm.
right? I mean, yeah, I think that's, I'm not a late in life lesbian. I'm a, like, late in the trimester. I came out this way. But I think, the fact that you went through what you went through, um, to get to this place that that is the authentic core part of who you are as a person, to me is gotta be a great gift to give a child, maybe not in the immediacy of it all, but in the long termness of it all, I think of how little I really felt like I knew my mom, like the real part of her that existed in the world that wasn't a mother. It didn't have 9 babies hanging on her all the time, you know? Um, so yeah, I think it's a gift. I think it's a real gift.
Thank you. I hope it is. I remember my mom always saying that all she ever wanted to be was a wife and a mother, and I thought that's what I'm supposed to want too, right? That's what I was raised to want, and I feel like I didn't know my mom as well as I would have liked to have known her either or too, and she's been gone about the same amount of time, Allie, that your mom has, and I talk to her all the time. I just, I our relationship is so different now that she's gone. And we had a good relationship when she was here, but I wanted to know her as a woman and as a human versus as my mother. So I hope that that's a gift I can give my kids if they're
Yeah.
interested someday.
I think you are showing them like that you're a full person. You know, you're a whole human being, um, who has dreams and needs and, creativity and like I think it's beautiful.
Forbid desire.
Yeah, yeah. Like,
How dare
I don't
you?
want to talk about that.
well, no, your kids never do want to talk about that.
No, no, no kids want to talk about that, right?
It's fine. Yeah, we don't, yeah, no, they don't, we don't really usually want to go there, but that's okay. Um, yeah, no, God, my dad used to talk to me. I mean, please, it's like I don't need to talk to my kids about that stuff either. But my dad used to talk to me about it, like, no, thank you. I don't need to know about that. But yeah, I think that it really, I think that's something that I've been really giving a lot of thought to, myself is just what is happening. I mean, for me with my mom, I think motherhood looked like the way it felt to me coming from her was that it was like a trap in a cage. It didn't look to me like she was thrilled, or like she really, I did not feel like the center of her world at all. I felt like I was, um, kind of like begging for scraps, like trying to get attention and just like taking whatever I could get. So I think I felt pretty, but she was also, she's a single mom at 28 and I was 4 and like she had a lot of things happen. So I don't think I was confused. I think she had a lot of rage. So I think I was seeing her as a woman and I think I was seeing a lot of rage. And I think that I thought it was me for a long time as a kid growing up. But I think now as a woman, I think her rage was like that rage of being a woman in this culture and feeling trapped and feeling like, um, it was 1975 when my dad left, and you could only have a credit card and a bank account in your name for a year at that point. And she had a, 4-year-old, and her mother had just died. And I think she felt like she needed to get a husband in order to make us safe. And I think she had rage about that. And I think she had a lot, I just think there was a lot of rage that I was feeling, that I'm now much more able to understand. And I think that our mothers sometimes are passing that rage down to us and we're not always understanding what it is, like maybe feeling like it's personal or but it's not, it's like the rage of just being a woman in this where your husband can have
E-
you committed.
Either of you are passing it down.
What was that?
Neither of you are passing that down. That's for sure.
No, no, no. I mean, like having kids for me was such a joy because I think I really wanted to be able to give them what I didn't get, like that love and that just being able to receive them with that. It was such a joyful experience. And it continues to be. But I think that I did really, they were just like the center of my, my universe for so long that I think it wasn't until a couple years ago that I even, had a weekend where I thought like, oh, I could actually they're getting old enough now that I could actually do something just because I want to,
Mhm.
which was like a revelation.
What
It
kind?
Yeah. So I think you can lose yourself I where you're
Uh-huh.
not even yeah, you're
Yeah.
just so
And it sounds negative in a way, right? You lose yourself, but I'm glad that I lost myself in my children. I'm glad that I had that experience, but now there's this whole rest of my life, and I've lived on the heteronormative side of it, and I've lived with my queer community, and it's so much gentler over here on
yeah,
this side it just is. The nurturing of the women in my life now is remarkable, and I don't have to listen to the bro jokes, and, it just is it's just such a calm space to exist in right now. I'm just so grateful for it.
I'm
that's
glad you're here. I'm really glad you're here. And I'm really like I'm thrilled that we have little gay books in the world right now because, not the best time to be launching little gay books, but
We did it together,
we did.
so
I feel like, I'm kind of proud of the fact that this book could be banned. Kind of
yeah.
I wear that as a badge of honor. Um yeah. I'm
My publisher said, "We know that this isn't the best time for you to be publishing this, but we're with you. We've got you. We're gonna hold you through it," and that's, I think, when I kind of really realized, "Woof." 'Cause
yeah,
I came out the first year that our president was elected, so my whole gay life has been, in this
I'm
in
so
this
sorry.
environment, and
If I could, I would like beam us all back to Provincetown in 1989.
I
I
want Lilith Fair. I want like Lilith Fair,
yeah.
like
I
yeah,
let's do that again.
My friend Tressa, who is in the book, I mentioned her in the book, but we were on an all-female construction crew in the '80s in Provincetown, and we were just talking the other night about how lucky we were, and what an awesome time that was in our lives. But we knew it, like we knew it then. We knew we were in a really just. It was almost like we found the hole in the matrix and we went through, and it was magical. It was magical. So if I could,
probably kind of a magical place anyway. I mean, it's different now, I'm sure. When I would love to beam back and be a lesbian in the '80s in
mm,
Provincetown construction crew as well. I think that sounds
well,
like perfect life.
it was Aquanet and, the judge. That's what it was all about, and it was perfect. It
I
was
don't wanna
perfect.
go. Can't we beam ourselves back? Like, this timeline that we are on, I really feel like I just don't understand. I feel like, those old, choose your own adventure? You remember those? We're all
Yeah.
like Gen X it, aren't we? Like, I just feel like someone picked badly, like something happened and someone chose very badly. I'd like to know who and how we could just go back and just pick a different event. This was bad.
Yeah.
I'm not happy. I'd like to go back and pick something else. This is not it. Whatever this is. This don't like this. This is
Well, I
oh,
wanna thank you both very much for doing this with me, and I mean, I'm not trying to get out of here, but I wanna make sure I say what I just am so appreciative of you guys spending this time with me,
okay.
and of
I
course
just I what I will say, because I can tell
with
Kate, you are done. You're done. You're done, aren't you?
well, I'm very and yes, I
Yeah. It's done. Um, no, I just want to say, like, I hope I dropped the links to both books in the chat, and I'm also gonna put them both in the post underneath the talk when I put the talk out. So and the episode out. So, please, like, please support these writers and these books and, just yes, they are, um beautiful, beautiful books, and as you can see now, beautiful human beings, and I'm just so thrilled that you both, you know, joined me to talk about all these incredible topics. I feel like we could talk about like 9 million other things. So hopefully you will come back, both of you, and we can have more
I hope we can
conversations.
save the world, maybe.
What was that?
I think maybe we could save the world.
I would love for us to save the world. Like, I'm so down for that. So, if you want,
Listen, I think we made a big dent here. I think we made a big dent.
I'd like to think so,
I love
I
you both.
cried a lot, so, let's this is my contribution today. I laughed, I cried, but mostly I just hosted, so you all did the heavy lifting, and I appreciate you, and I mean, really just beautiful, beautiful writing, beautiful stories, and I hope, I hope that you get tons of people reading. Um,
Thank you for being so generous, Allie, with
oh,
your
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you
my
so much.
absolute joy, really, my absolute joy to shine up your books and both of you. And, yeah, I hope everybody grabs copies. You will not be disappointed. I promise you, you will not be disappointed. And we'll do it again.
Yeah.
Do it again.
Love
So,
Thank
that.
you everyone who came too, and I'm sorry I'm
Yeah.
so shitty in the chat. I just am not.
oh no, don't be
That's
sorry.
hard.
Good.
Smart.
You like
Hang on.
people.
But that say I can't see. And
T-Bird, Book
that's
of
the
Grace is the best book ever. We got Paul and like lots of people.
good.
Yeah, I don't know who T-Bird is, but T-Bird really loves you.
T-Bird
Yeah,
is that's I
yes,
trust.
exactly.
Aw,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
Love you.
yes.
Thank you both so much. I love you both.
Thank you. I love you all. Thank you to everybody who showed up. Birdie is saying they love you, Kate. Yes, I know. That's why I love Kate too. I can tell. The funny thing is I could tell Kate was like, I'm not trying to be done. I was like, oh, she's trying to be done. Um,
I get done. I don't know what to tell
Hey,
you.
I understand. You're an introvert. We're done. It's okay. We're good. I'm tired too. We're good. This is
She'll tell
perfect.
you.
We're good. Let's not overstay the welcome. Everybody's good. We got hearts flying in the chat. Katrina's happy. We're all good. Why push it?
so happy.
Perfect. So yes, I love you all. Thank you to everyone who showed up. And we'll do it again soon. Okay. Sending everybody a lot of love. Mwah.
Thank you.
Bye. Let's see if I can end it. Yay. Did it.